Welcome to Brabant Solar Day. My name is Ingeloe Stol and I am honored to be your host. Today we will inspire you with different insights on solar innovation. We will discuss innovative technologies as well as the challenges and opportunities of our time. Climate change is a reality and we all know we need to act now. But what are possible solutions and what could be the role of solar in creating a sustainable future? And how can Europe make an impact with their innovations in this field? Today we will share knowledge and talk about cooperation and innovation, which is key to give a boost to the solar industry in Europe. The Dutch region Noord-Brabant, also called Brabant, can contribute to this boost with their innovations. Unfortunately, our in-person program of the Brabant Solar Day had to be cancelled due to the recent COVID-19 situation. But we are delighted to welcome you here in this online program, live broadcasted from the high-tech campus in Eindhoven, in, of course, Brabant. We also planned a physical exhibition, but instead we will take you on virtual tours in this talk show, so you should keep watching. You can also view an online exhibition of involved organizations on our website, brabantsolarday.nl. We are starting with a welcome speech of one of our regional ministers, which was previously recorded. Martijn van Gruithuizen is the Vice Governor for Economic Affairs, Knowledge and Talent Development of the Province of Noord-Brabant. And I asked him, why do you think the topic of solar and innovation is so important for us?
Well, it's important for us as Brabant, but it's important for the whole of Europe. And in Brabant, we have top universities and research institutes, and we can really solve the societal challenges with them. And on the other hand, we have a big and great manufacturing industry that can contribute to the societal challenges and the solutions for that.
And how can we bring the solar manufacturing industry back to North Brabant and to Europe as well, to boost the remaining and future solar industry?
Well, I think we have to cherish the manufacturing industry, and that's exactly what the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, emphasized when she visited Noord-Brabant last month. And that manufacturing industry is really key to remain the independent and play an independent role as Europe for the rest of the world. So it's very important that we keep investing in that smart manufacturing industry, and within that the solar manufacturing industry.
And would you like to share something else with us?
Well, of course, as a Vice Governor of the Province of Brabant, responsible for economic affairs and innovation, I'm very proud of our research institutions and our companies. And I hope that when you think of solar and when you think of industry, really that you think of Brabant the next time, because we have the smart solutions for any societal challenges.
Martijn van Gruithuizen, thank you so much for your message. Joining me on stage is Mark Glaudemans, also of the province of Noord-Brabant. He is Director Economic Affairs, Internationalization, Mobility and Innovation. Also joining is Ludo de Verm, Executive Vice President at IMEC and member of the Soliance Supervisory Board. Welcome. Thanks. To the both of you. Mark, why is Brabant Solar Day so important for the province?
Well, as our governor already mentioned, the vice governor, that for Brabant innovation is key, and we are one of Europe's innovation leaders. So we believe innovation is going to help us overcome the major societal challenges, and for that, and of course, energy transition is one of those challenges. And we think innovation and also bringing innovation to the market is going to have a big impact in solving these challenges.
So we need to boost this.
Yeah, definitely.
And what do you expect of today? What questions would you really like to see answered?
Well, I think that today is good that we have a whole variety of different parties, from knowledge institutes to companies that can actually contribute to the production, and also investors. So we think the whole value chain is important, and we have, I think, in the audience and especially in the speakers, we have that range of topics and expertise here. And I think it's very important to get these matches between the different parties in order to get this innovation boosted.
To connect them so we can collaborate.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Ludo, what do you hope to hear today?
Oh, what do I hope to hear today? I hope to hear from governments that they keep on giving sustainable support for R&D, but also for product innovation and that they put rulings in place, because be careful, energy is not a standard product for a consumer. So that means they have to put rulings in place so they can promote these kind of innovations. That's the one part I expect. The second part I expect from the industry, that they also think out of the box and do things together with RTOs, so research institutes, universities, etc. But of course keep their role as being productization of new energies towards the market.
So this talk show consists of 3 parts. We will start with policy and societal perspective, then product developments and R&D, and we will end with application and recycling. And before we start with policy and societal perspective, Ludo, let's have a look at the challenges. We want to phase out fossil fuels as soon as possible. Do we want to replace them all with the wind and the sun? Is that even possible?
It's a very good question. Of course, today we use a lot of fossil fuels. I mean, every home still has either gas or oil or whatever. Can you replace it? I think you should anyway, because of the emission. You should replace it. Can you do it today? No. There's not sufficient capacity available for wind and solar. That's one problem. Second problem is an intermittent source of energy. That means it's not there every hour. You don't have sun in the night, you don't have wind when you want it, etc. So we have to look also to new technologies for storage, batteries, hydrogen, etc. So it should be combined, not separate things, really combine the whole story, and then also do still in the standard kind of homes, getting less consumption of energy, in the industry, less consumption of energy. So trying to optimize also the use. Not only the supply, but also the use.
Yeah, so again, there the collaboration, but then in the different sources, how we can do it. But is technology ready for this already?
There is a lot of technology available. That's certainly true. But of course, you can still do a lot of innovation. Look for building integration. You need efficient kind of, not solar panels, but solar technology integrated in facades and windows, etc. On a car, you need it in the roofs. How you do it properly with a lot of efficiency. So new technologies or enhancement of present technologies help. But there are a lot of technologies available today.
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting, and we're definitely going to hear more about that as well. Let's meet again with the 3 of us at the end of the talk show, just to do a quick roundup what we thought of the show.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mark Glaudemans and Ludo de Verm. So if you have any questions for our speakers, please write them down in the chat and we will try to answer as many as possible in the talk show or otherwise afterwards. So to kick off the first talk, we're going to watch a message of Tom Bergensen. He's member of the European Parliament and member of Industry, Innovation, Energy and Transport Committees, as well as spokesperson on European industrial and energy policy.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Tom Bergensen, a member of the European Parliament from Brabant. Unfortunately, I cannot be there with you today, but I am honored to be able to kick off the first round of today's talk show of Brabant Solar Day, here from the European Parliament in Brussels. The energy transition is one of the key challenges of our time. As we have also seen a couple of weeks ago during the COP in Glasgow, it is clear that if we want to be a carbon-neutral economy and society by 2050, we need to shift from a system dominated by fossil fuels to one based on alternative, sustainable energy sources. And I think Brabant can play an important role here. To be frank, as coming from and living in Brabant myself, I am quite proud that the innovative technologies that are developed in this region, specifically with regards to solar energy, will be able to offer a solution for European challenges as a whole. A couple of months ago, I was very happy to receive the solar team from Eindhoven University in Brussels and to see how innovative solutions like, in this case, energy-efficient solar vehicles can contribute to and accelerate the transition to sustainable mobility in Europe. While solar energy has a lot of potential, there are of course also challenges to overcome. In the latest decade, we have seen the solar manufacturing industry taking a surge outside Europe. China is currently producing the vast majority of solar panels used worldwide. But as was even more emphasized during the pandemic, it is clear that Europe should not strictly rely on imports when it comes to such essential products for our economy of the future. So I see a big task ahead for Europe. We not only have to collectively give a boost to the solar industry in Europe, but also make sure that innovation from Europe also stays in Europe, avoiding a situation where European ideas and technologies are lost to China or the US. Now, how do we do this? I think we urgently need to take measures targeted at creating a level playing field. Start properly investing in our research and in manufacturing base, and be less naive with foreign investments and takeovers in strategic sectors. A lot more can be said, but I will stop here. I wish all of you fruitful discussions, discussions that for sure will continue after today. I wish you a great Brabant Solar Day. Thank you.
Tom Bergensen, thank you so much. Joining me online for the first talk are Professor Helene de Koning, full professor of Socio-Technical Innovation and Climate Change at the Eindhoven University of Technology, the TUE, associated with EIRES, the Eindhoven Institute for Renewable Energy Systems, and Associate Professor of Innovation Studies and Sustainability at Radboud University. Thank you for joining.
Nice to be here.
Also joining us is Mark van Stiphoutz, Deputy Head of Unit of the Directorate General Energy, the unit that is responsible for innovation, research, digitalization and competitiveness at the European Commission. And Dr. Benedict Ortman, Chairman of the Strategy Committee of Solar Power Europe and Head of Business Entity Solar Projects at BayWa r.e. in Germany.
Good morning.
Welcome. Helene, let's start with you. What did you think of the message of Tom?
Yeah, I mean, he has a couple of very good points. Clearly, the EU should make sure that it has capabilities of its own in the climate and energy space, because it's such a crucial transition, and exclusive dependence on other countries can be risky, as we've seen in the pandemic as well. But I don't completely agree with all that he's saying, and for two reasons. The first one is, let's be frank, we can be very unhappy about that China is producing most of the world's PV panels, but we wouldn't have seen the cost reductions that we've seen had it not been for China's investment in there. We were not doing that in Europe at that time, and China basically did much better at that. So and these are global benefits that we're all reaping now. So we all benefit from this globalized innovation system. So let's also not be too chauvinistic about that, and also have shared innovation globally. And the second reason is a little bit more complicated, maybe. It is not going to help the global transition on energy to become or to remain the global technological hegemon. And if we wanted energy transition to happen really all over the world, in all countries should also benefit. They should have their own local job generation. They should have local capabilities so that local innovation can take place, and eventually local production of technology in all countries around the world. And only if that happens, countries will have a self-interest in these new technologies and in the energy transition. We see it in the Netherlands. We basically only start investing in these new technologies if we see that there's something to be gained from it. So if we keep everything to ourselves, maybe we are going to be climate neutral in 2050, but no one else will, and then climate change will still be bad. So it's an enlightened all, right? Self-interest to do this.
It's a problem of all of us, right? So again, the collaboration also between countries is there important.
Exactly.
Benedict, how do you look at this?
Well, obviously, we have two aspects of the site. One is, and I completely agree to Helene with this, if we hadn't had China, European companies wouldn't have been able to push down the costs of solar energy so far as they did in the last 10 years. And I can tell many stories about that because I'm in this branch working in a developer country, in a company for 20 years now. But there's another point which is clearly political. And then we are getting back into this area of who is owning manufacturing, who is owning innovation, who is owning research, and people are starting again to make their claims. And I would also agree we should go beyond that position, because climate change is so important to everybody. that we cannot spend our time now in discussing who is doing what. As a matter of fact, solar panels nowadays are a commodity, and it should be irrelevant where they are produced. And therefore, I'm warning the European Union again to even think about imposing tariff measures, custom measures, minimum import prices. All these methods which they did in the past have been terribly failing, and were not able to refoster the European industry again. And now we have, again, other lobbyists starting to lobby hefty against towards renewables with regards, if you look at the nuclear power associations right now, or they are trying to camouflage gas as being kind of renewable with regards to yellow gas and blue gas and all the colors of gas we are right now seeing here. And I think it's a threat towards mankind overcoming climate change. And I think we have to be very, let's say, strict on saying, no, we only have to rely on renewable energies, on the real ones.
Helene, you are involved in the Eindhoven Institute for Renewable Energy Systems, and you are the co-author of many IPCC climate reports. Why is it necessary to act now?
Yeah, so it's very clear that if we don't limit global warming to 1.5 degrees, and it's an extremely clear results from IPCC reports and other climate science, that we're going to see consequences of climate change that are very severe. That will lead to human harm, that will lead to ecological damage, which is essentially irreparable and irreversible. And in order to limit warming to 1.5 degrees, we need to be globally net zero in terms of CO2 emissions in 2050. And that sounds far away, but it's actually in 28 years. So it's only one investment cycle away for some companies. And we need to have our global CO2 emissions in 2030 already, which is only 8 years away. And this is global and not for the rich countries. Actually, rich countries should probably move even a little bit faster than these global numbers. So it's extremely urgent, if we want to limit warming to 1.5 degrees, that we reduce our emissions as soon as possible. And we can compensate a little bit with negative emissions later on. So that's when we take CO2 out of the atmosphere. But those are technologies that are less mature, that probably have more impacts, that are more expensive. So every ton that we can reduce earlier, we don't have to take out of the atmosphere later. So that also calls out for the urgency of reducing emissions and making these investments now.
Everything we do now helps for the future, of course. Do you think people are underestimating the climate problem?
Well, I think by now, most politicians in Europe are acknowledging that climate change is a very serious problem. I do see that. But what we are underestimating is the complexity of the solution. It is not going to be enough to implement a list of technologies. Solar energy can make a fantastic contribution and is really essential, but it cannot do the job alone. We also need reductions in industry, probably in our energy use, in our material use, in our land systems. Even cultural change or behavioral changes are part of that solution. And this is getting really complex, right? Regulation needs to change, maybe even political systems. We need to be more acknowledging that things will go wrong, that we will make mistakes in this fast transition that we have to make. So that takes a different mindset as well. So I think we're underestimating the complexity of what we need to do in order to limit warming to 1.5 degrees, and that we need much more awareness, that we need to go beyond the list of technologies and measures.
Mark van Stiphoutz of the European Commission, how do you think we can create more awareness about this?
Well, I think that this is maybe not necessarily the best way we would have liked to create awareness, but I think things like the floods in last summer really create a lot of awareness and also show really that it's already happening and that it's urgent. And this is, this was terrible in Belgium and in Germany, and also quite bad in the Netherlands. And there are plenty of examples around the world like this. And I think that these are, extremely sad things that happen, but they also show the cost of not doing anything. And I think this is very often still lacking in the debate. For example, here in Belgium, there's a lot of discussion. We need to make sure that the investments in renewable energy remain affordable. But the risk of not doing anything and the cost that will bring are huge. And we can see with things that happened last summer that that happen all over the world, basically throughout the year, that these are not theoretic costs. These are real costs. And in Belgium, still people haven't moved back to their homes because they were flooded away and they don't know if they're ever going to be able to live there again. So I think this is, I would have liked to say that we can have nice advertising campaigns that make people realize that there's something that we need to do about it. But I think the facts speak for themselves.
And let me add to that, this is just the beginning, right? We're now at just over 1 degree of global warming. And if we go to 1.5 degrees, the consequences will get proportionally worse.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think if I talk to my kids, the awareness is not the issue. Providing solutions is the problem right now. And when we do the math and saying, okay, only in Germany, we just said we want to have 200 more gigawatts by 2030. Imagine how much space we will need for that. And science shows that in order to decarbonize only Germany, we would need like 2% of the German territory for wind and solar installations. I mean, technically it's doable, but when it comes to reality and people are opposing new installations in their neighborhood, then we are coming to the real problems. So technically, I think it's all doable, but it's still a question of mentality of the people, and also for us to be not enough innovative here. Also, not only in technological aspects, but also in applications like double function PV, like agri PV, like floating PV. We are only starting in thinking in new applications. Also, facades has been mentioned in one of the speeches before. All these kinds of new applications, I think, are very important.
And Mark, if we look at the innovations in Brabant, do you think that it's important to continue and intensify the efforts of Noord-Brabant and other European regions regarding, for example, building integrated photovoltaics or thin film roll-to-roll technology to generate more renewable energy and to create a more sustainable world?
Yes, definitely. I think that is I can just say wholehearted yes to that. I think that if we look at the goals that we've set for ourselves in the EU to become the first climate neutral continent, now we want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 55% by 2030. We have a lot of the technologies available, but not all of them. And we can still invest big time in making more applications of how to generate renewable energy and electricity, and things that are happening in Brabant and happening also in other places in Europe are key for that. Tom also already mentioned Lightyear, roll-to-roll thin film, being able to apply solar PV technologies to many more surfaces than we do today will make it much more easy, and will also bring higher yields and make it, make our way to a decarbonized energy and electricity system go faster. So this is a big priority for the EU, both in terms of the development of the technologies, but also in terms of creating growth and jobs in the EU with our Green Deal strategy. It's not just about battling climate change and helping, so to say, the world to battle climate change. and show the way in Europe, because I think that's also what we have been doing, but also benefit from that economically and use the innovation capacity and the brains we have in the EU to make that happen.
One short final question to Benedict. How do we strengthen the European solar industry?
When it comes to the industry part of it, then of course we are talking about production of components, which is not only, by the way, solar panels, it's silicon, we are talking about glass, we are talking about inverters, cabling, all components, also trafo stations. So yeah, fostering investments in those manufacturing sites is critical, as well as it is critical to look at that the supply chain will work. And silicon, I mean, is a raw material which is quite widely available in the world. But however, we have to take care also that the working standards under these, in countries where these raw materials have been sourced and will be sourced, are matching social standards, which is right now not always the case. And I think these points are also important, and the European Union is very much looking to that, which I appreciate.
Thank you so much for sharing your vision with us. Professor Helene de Koning, Dr. Benedict Ortman and Mark van Stiphoutz. Thank you. All right, so during this talk show, I already promised, we have virtual tours. We have a special reporter, Niels van Loon, a techno-economic analyst and marketing and communications officer at TNO and Soliance. And he is taking us on tours through innovative companies and research institutes that work on solar. We're going to start with Soliance here at the high-tech campus, where they work on roll-to-roll solar technology. Niels, roll-to-roll. How does it work?
Well, that's a very good question, Ingeloo. Let's find out. I'm standing here with Veronique. Veronique, can you tell us in 3 words, where are we?
Well, 3 words might be a bit too little, but we're standing here in the Soliance building. Back here we have the TNO labs, where we do research on thin film PV.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thin film. What makes thin film PV different?
Well, thin film PV or thin film solar means that it's actually a thin film, as the word itself says. So it's as thin as a hair, which means that it can be flexible, it can be very lightweight, and you can use it anywhere. At least that's the idea.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Veronique. Let's go to the lab and have a look. Ilke, welcome for having us here in the lab. So this is perovskite. What makes it so special?
It is a special material in terms of the abundancy, the possibility to low temperature processing, and also possibility to reach higher efficiencies.
That's nice. Do you agree? Is it the future of solar?
Yes, we definitely agree. First of all, this technology has a very low carbon footprint, much lower than the existing PV technologies. Second, we can tune the electronic structure of this material and integrate it on top of the existing infrastructure by making a tandem architecture. And the third one, which is economically interesting, it is a cheap technology.
Oh, that's nice. So these solar cells are printed. Is it really as simple as it sounds?
It has been a challenge for us, but we, as you can see here, we managed it. It is not very straightforward to go from small area coating to large area coating. Sometimes the layers don't want to coat on top of each other, and you have to do investigations in terms of fluid mechanics, physics, chemistry to be able to tweak these layers and make it working. And also it's very important to have it uniform in the large area.
Okay, so it's difficult to scale it up, but it's still the future of solar.
Yes, we definitely think it's the future.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Hi Mark. Ilke just showed us some perovskite solar cells, but you cannot use these lab cells yet in your home. Can you tell us what it takes to make these cells suitable to use them in a building or in a car or some other application?
Well, first of all, you need to make them in larger quantities. And secondly, you actually need to encapsulate them to make them reliable and to make them suitable for integration in products. And that's what we do in mass customization.
I've heard that before, that term. Can you explain a little bit what it is, mass customization?
Mass customization is a combination of mass manufacturing and customization. So what we try to do is to make PV available as a functionality to integrate into the products.
And why is that important?
Well, it's important because it allows us to create affordable solar energy from every surface.
That sounds really interesting. Thank you, Mark. So here at Soliance, technology is developed for the entire solar value chain, from cell technology to integration technology, focusing on perovskite-based solar cells and mass customization. I think we got a nice overview of what is possible with this new solar technology. Ingeloo, I'm curious, do your guests think that this will bring solar back to Europe?
Well, good question, Niels. We're going to answer that in just a minute. We see a lot of good questions coming in the chat, so keep asking them. We don't have all the time to include them in the talk show, but you will definitely get an answer. If it's not in the talk show, then via an email afterwards. So let's go to the speakers of talk 2, which is all about product development and R&D. Professor Gerard de Lede, CTO and co-founder of Solarch. Welcome. Dr. Sjoerd Veenstra, Program Manager at TNO Soliance. Dr. Sorin Stan, Business Development Director, VDL Enabling Technologies Group. And last but not least, Arno Dumouriez, CEO of Duflex Mechatronics. Welcome. Gerard, let's go back to the question Niels asked us. What do you think? Could this bring solar back to Europe?
Yeah, I do agree to his statement. I think it's right that this new technology can bring back solar initiative to Europe. And we lost that initiative, we all know about that. But I think there is another reason to bring back that, and it was laid down by the coronavirus. Because we start to realize we are too much dependent on supply chains that are not close enough to us to fulfill the need of our renewable energy generation. So it was a wake-up call, so to speak. And I think it's not only logistics, but it's also we started realizing that the CO2 emissions, which is not directly related, of course, to Corona, we started looking at more, where are those panels coming from? And the CO2 emissions to create the solar modules and cells are really very high. In fact, they are 14 to 18 gigaton in total in the next 20 years. And that will be half of the emissions worldwide.
Whoa.
In just 1 year. So we should really look at that as well. Circularity and footprint are counting, besides being dependent on the supply chains that we don't want to be dependent on.
And Solarch has its origin partly at Soliance. Tell us more about Solarch.
Yeah, in fact, we started the first office just a few meters from this place.
So it feels familiar.
It feels very familiar. It's a homecoming. Maybe I can add that we tried to first look at the technology that was emerging, the perovskites, and after a short time we realized it was too far away in the future, because if you want to make a commercial company in production, you need to make money from the very beginning. So we took a step back and looked at another technology that was created between TNO Soliance and the industry and SEBIC, and I was involved as a CTO 5 months previously. And that means that you package solar cells in a different manner by polymers. And that is a fantastic opportunity to do this all differently. And you can do that with any solar cell. So when the perovskites come to the market in a couple of years, we can pick up with this technology the packaging of the perovskites. And I think we get back to that. But today we decided to start just with silicon solar cells and package them and create panels that are much lighter and ultra low in carbon emission and are recyclable.
So this is very interesting, right, Sjoerd?
Yes, this is absolutely very interesting. Yeah, I totally agree. I think a few years back, perovskite was emerging. I think the technology is progressing rather quick. So I hope that we can bring in the technology very quickly.
How long will it take to get this on the market, perovskite?
That's a very good question. It depends a little bit how you see the technology on the market. I think things are progressing really fast in the world of perovskite solar cells. So we see that pilot lines are being built. We see that product prototypes are presented. So I think basically probably next year you will already see first products coming at the market, but for niche markets. Not so much for rooftop applications or large-scale PV installations, but this will be the first step. So this will be the first step of the market introduction, and then later on you will see that they will end up in all types of new solar cells and panels.
Someone is also asking, Soliance has been leading the Perovskite Alliance, but this was a couple of years ago. Has there been any progress, or have things been stalled? This seems to be the only technology where Europe can still compete, is someone asking.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to work together on this technology. And yeah, this is absolutely the basic idea of Soliance, to form an alliance to go and work together on some of the renewable technologies, specifically solar. So no, there's no time to stall. We just need to progress faster.
Okay. If we look again at solar, Gerard, what is extra innovative about your technology? What makes it unique?
I think it's the way that I just expressed shortly, that we package the solar cells by polymers that are created just to last very long, which is needed in solar. And by cooperating with SABIC, we succeeded in that. So we got a certification for the product. So it means that it can last 25 years. And we are thus able to package this in ultra-low carbon, with ultra-low carbon solar, and fully recyclable. And the recyclability is really a big issue in solar, becoming more and more. And the footprint of the solar panel, when it is created, it takes about 4 years in the Netherlands to earn back the emissions that were necessary to create a solar panel.
And how do we make that better?
We made it better by using the polymers, and that means replacing the whole idea of glass, the glass front, and the aluminum frame. Particularly for me, very interesting, because I have a long history in the glass industry. So, to be honest, I was not directly convinced by the technology coming up from SABIC. But yeah, it turned out that it's really possible, and you can get the long lifetimes and the protection of the solar cell just by replacing them with polymers. And polymers have maybe a bad name because they could end up in incinerators, they could end up in the ocean. But there are programs in place, SABIC is one of them. There are many companies working on recycling plastics coming back from those dumps. And also, they are working on creating plastics from bio-based material. So there's enormous potential, especially because in the Netherlands we have the agricultural industry and tradition, so we know how to create plants, and we know also more and more how to create polymers from them. And then I would say we are in the next era. In fact, we started off with Stone Age, then we got to bronze, then we got to iron, and we got to polymers. And polymers, as said, they have a bad name in some aspects, but it's a beautiful material you can engineer for cars. 40% of our cars is existing from polymer. And that's exactly the principles that we build on to create solar panels.
And to talk more about recycling, we're going to do that as well in this talk show. So thank you for pointing that out already. In the video, we saw a roll of perovskites. Sorin, VDL has built a roll-to-roll perovskite machine together with Soliance. Tell us more about that machine, please.
It's very interesting that we are talking now about perovskites, because when we started the development of that equipment in 2012, there was no perovskite at all. So we got a set of quite weird requirements from Soliance, in the sense that practically nobody worldwide heard about what they wanted to do. We didn't know about perovskites. All we knew is that the production system, a pilot line, had to comply with a set of requirements for different industries, like organic photovoltaics, which was a fashion at that time, OLED displays, flexible OLED displays, but also flexible batteries, which is now again a hot topic. So we spent a couple of years to develop and build that machine. We installed it at Soliance, and it turned out years later that they've been using that throughout all these applications and ended up right now by manufacturing in pilot production flexible perovskite solar cells. So it's quite a history. of that.
Yeah. And Sjoerd, how do you look at this?
Well, it's a fascinating journey that basically just started, I think. And so really to harvest, let's say, the potential that perovskite has, we definitely need to make a couple of steps. So if we see that, if solar has to make a big impact on the future energy technologies, then what we need to do is we need to produce very fast. And because we need to have an enormous amount of solar panels produced. And of course, they should be affordable, not only for us here, but worldwide. So there's many steps to make, and it looks like that perovskite can make a big difference here, because the materials are abundant, they can be cheap, and the life cycle profile or life cycle analysis show that perovskite can make a huge difference here. So so far it's been a great journey, but I think what is ahead is even more interesting. And
the perovskite is interesting also because it's transparent, right? It has extra possibilities.
Yeah, you can look at it two ways. So the transparency you can create, you can make perovskite panels where you can see through, so you can use them in PV windows. But what's also very interesting is that you can make perovskite cells that are absorbing in one part of the solar spectrum and transparent in another part.
Okay.
And that's a different type of transparency, but it's very important for tandem applications.
And can you tell us a little bit more why perovskite is so suitable for tandem and why that is important?
Yeah, so for tandems, basically you stack two solar cells on top of each other. And typically the perovskite is the top cell. So this top cell needs to absorb a part of the solar spectrum and do it in a very efficient way, and then leave still some of the light to go through to the bottom cell. So your requirements are that it's cheap, because the tandem has to compete with the single junction, as we call it. You must be able to tune the optical properties of this top cell so that the combination will actually work in an excellent tandem configuration. And then you need to make sure that the light transmission to the bottom cell is optimum. You cannot allow for a bit of parasitic absorption. And perovskite is, I guess, one of the few materials that ticks the boxes of being cheap, being optically tunable, and being very transparent in the part where you want it to be transparent and transmit the light to the bottom cell. So it's not easy to find an alternative, and that is which makes perovskite for tandem so special, I think.
Arno, Duflex has developed, also together with TNO and Maan Engineering, the mass customization machine we just heard of in the video. How unique is this in the world?
I think it's pretty unique, because that makes really a product now. So and in this machine we can combine all the pieces to a solar laminate, and that it's ready for integration in other products in the world, for walls or other purposes. So I think it's the next step, and it's a pilot line, and on that pilot line several customers can build their own products from them. So that's really unique, I think.
And what do we need? What do you need to start producing this at a larger scale?
So now the machine is, you can say, ready, and the generation product 1 is ready, and it's available for customers to integrate it. This the next step is to place it here in Eindhoven and to produce test products with it, and it would be very nice that we can do that. But therefore we need further support from the government, and that's a little bit investments. Yes. So we are for the finishing line for a first product, perhaps in the Netherlands. That's flexible. It's a solar laminate, and it would be very nice that a product will come out of it now. So.
And what's interesting is that the laminates can be involved or included in all kinds of products, right? Yeah. So buildings, cars.
Yeah, what we've seen on the movie. So yeah, it's very thin, it's flexible. It's also flexible in size. and in voltage, and then so you can use it for very much purposes then. Cars, for instance, walls, yeah, everything is possible. But that's for the next step. So we have now the production line, and the next step would be that companies use it for their end product.
Yeah. So you need more support also from the government to realize this.
We are short for the finishing line. So, but it's very necessary that the government will see that this is necessary. It's too big for one company to pull it over the finish line.
Exactly. So again, the collaboration.
You must one step beyond the desk policy now and make a product of it. And that would be very nice if it's done.
Sorin, if we look at the machine of VDL, it was built with investors from Brabant. How important are these investments? We already hear it here from Arno. You need money to make it.
What is maybe interesting to say, if we look back in time, 50, 60 years of investment in Silicon Valley, that's something which we have not witnessed here in the Netherlands. But during the past 10 years, this has become a bit of a habit also in the Netherlands to get investments from private investors, from investment companies, but also from the government. It started at Soliance maybe in 2012. There were some other investments as well, but we've witnessed through this 9 years investments in different other areas. So it is extremely important, and maybe the most important thing is that people have become, or companies, investors and government organizations here in the Netherlands have become very eager to invest, which was not really the case years ago.
So it's a good development.
It's a very, very good development. I had the chance to have been worked throughout my career only in high-tech industries, in semiconductors, in optical disk, hard disk, equipment manufacture, the past 9-10 years. So this is an extremely, extremely good development, what we witness now.
And the machines, have you sold more already?
Yes, we have built another machine for a company in the UK, which has been used since about 2015 for a different application, but also for flexible devices, flexible electronic devices. But what is very interesting is that this has propelled us into a market space, which we used to call it flexible electronics, or maybe it's combined flexible and printed electronics and large area electronics. A solar cell, which is flexible, belongs to the category of the large area electronics. So in this space, we have done many projects since 2012, since that we launched that project with Soliance. We have built many other types of machines, not only for flexible solar cells, but also for flexible electronics. We are looking into flexible batteries. So it's a large space of industries and technologies where we have found a spot for us along some other companies worldwide.
All right, thank you so much for joining me today here in this talk show. Professor Gerard de Lede, Dr. Sjoerd Veenstra, Dr. Sorin Stan and Arno Dumouriez. Thank you so much for joining today. So the next virtual tour will take us to other interesting examples of companies who innovate in the field of solar. With their innovations, they can play an important role in the European solar value chain.
Welcome here at MECO Equipment Engineers. We are a leading supplier of electroplating equipment for the semiconductor and solar markets. To address the sustainability concerns for the new generation of high-efficiency solar cells, like heterodunction solar cells, we developed this solar cell plating line. The copper contact fingers electroplated in this line present a significant cost reduction compared to the currently used screen-printed silver. With some recent innovations, we doubled the production capacity of this line to 350 megawatts per year at a low ecological footprint.
Welcome here at SPG Prints, a Brabant heritage company known by the name of Stork in Boxmeer. We are the creators of rotary screen printing, which we have created 70 years ago for textile industries. But nowadays we have all kinds of different applications which can be printed using our rotary screen solutions. One of them is the creation of solar panels and solar cells. we can be part of that printing process on a massive scale. So that's why we would like to be part of this Brabant Solar Day. We are very proud on this, and well, we are looking forward to work together with all the companies in this area of the Netherlands, where we can create something sustainable and to be part of it.
Here at SALT, we're very strong in functional nanolayers at atomic scale. These atomic layers help improve products like solar cells or lithium-ion batteries. The research for that we do in-house, but also together with our partners in the region, like the university, research institute, but also together with several companies. With these companies which want to use this technology later on, we do the research together, but also the implementation of the high-volume equipment.
My group has the technical skills and people to translate innovation challenges into scalable production processes. 2 years ago, we started with a feasibility study to laminate solar cells in a continuous process. After development and a lot of testing, we had a workable concept. Together with Duflex, we translated this concept in an integrated production process.
A part of this process is this machine. It's capable to produce solar laminates on a very flexible way. We are very proud to be part of this innovation, and hopefully it brings a good contribution to a sustainable energy transition. The next step is for the potential customer to integrate this product in their own process.
We are here at Brainport Assembly, where we integrate roofing membranes with our lightweight solar panels. For the energy transition, we want to provide as many as possible big flat roofs with solar panels. However, over 30% of these roofs are too weak for that. Therefore, the energy transition delays because many of those roofs stay empty. But here's our solution: white, energy-saving roofing membranes with integrated, flexible, high-performance solar panels, which we produce here at Brainport Assembly, where we work with people with a certain distance to the labour market, a social enterprise. This solution is sustainable, financially attractive and locally produced. And with TNO Soliance, we work on an innovative lamination process for solar cells to make our solution even more attractive.
And these were just some examples of our diverse innovation in the region of Noord-Brabant. Before we go to the final topic of this talk show, let's watch a message of another minister of our province, the Vice Governor for Energy, Circular Economy and Environment. We recorded this before the talk show. Annemarie Spierings, I asked her the question, how can solar energy help to shape the future of the energy transition?
Solar energy is very much accepted, and that's because it can be combined with all kinds of functions. Fronts and rooftops of buildings, but even agriculture, of course, solar carports, and this makes it less visible for us as human beings, and therefore a very much favorable form of renewable energy.
And what is your vision on the challenges and opportunities of the energy transition, specifically solar energy in Noord-Brabant, Europe and beyond?
Well, solar energy has this high potential because it can be combined with all these other functions, but therefore we still need some steps of innovation. The weight of solar panels should be reduced. Of course, we need flexible solar panels because not all the surfaces are flat. We need transparent solar panels, so functions that still need some light underneath the solar panels can be combined. But if we manage this, and I believe we can manage this, I think solar energy has a very, very high potential in the Netherlands and, of course, also in the rest of Europe and the world.
And how can we stimulate innovative solar technologies and their development in the market and make sure the solar industry is part of a circular economy?
In Noord-Brabant, we have some companies to be very proud of in the solar industry. We have Soliance, we have Solarge, we have Lightyear. And they give us like a small sneak preview of what the future can be like. We see it as our role as a province to help these companies to grow, for instance, with investments. And we also see it as our role to open up their markets, to contact potential clients, like housing corporations, like the building industry. Because if there's a market, they can produce and then it's easier to finance them. If we can do this in Noord-Brabant and we can help these companies grow, then for them it's much easier to expand to the rest of the Netherlands, to Europe, and who knows, the world. Of course, for Soliance this is a bit different because they do not really produce the solar panels, but when we have the production, we also need the innovation, and it's great to have that all here combined in our province.
Annemarie Spierings, thank you so much for your message. So, in this talk show, we want to show you the full value chain and the global challenges. So, we started from policy to research, product developments, and recycling. So, joining me for talk 3 about application and recycling are Peter Toonse, researcher, business developer, and program manager at TNO Soliance. Welcome. Patricia Seoane, solar engineer at Lightyear. Ronald Fulbert, business developer at Heijmans Energie. And René IJsbouw, strategy advisor of Stichting Open. Peter, we already talked shortly about the mass customization line, the production of solar cells on a larger scale and also more affordable. What could be the impact of such a line?
I think it is the impact is high. And why? It was stated in previous discussions that we have a huge problem, a huge challenge in getting a climate neutral environment. Solar electricity technology is for quite some time in the market, but if you look at the contribution of that source to the total energy production, then it is quite marginal. So we need to do something to come to an acceleration of the application of solar electricity. And in my point of view, what should happen is that we have to decouple the standard offer of the solar industry as it is right now to the manufacturing industry. There is a manufacturing industry demanding solar functionality in their products because they want to conquer the market with all kinds of products, facade elements, roofing elements. They go to a solar exhibition, they go to congresses, and they can't find the right technology. So what we are doing is rather disruptive. We state there is all kinds of solar material in the market. Please use it. Build a technology in between called mass customization technology and enable those kind of companies with the supply of what we call semi-fabricates. And then I think that is really the key to unlock the potential of solar electricity as we know it.
Also to integrate it in their own products.
Yeah, to integrate it in their own products. We have lots of companies, local economy, that is also very important. So we have large producers of automotive parts, building parts, existing in the Netherlands, in Brabant, in Europe. They need to get their hands on right solar technology. And if we can help them and can facilitate them with the help of equipment sector that is, of course, very strong. Look like the company Duflex, Maan Group, VDL. We all have it. We have it in Brabant. We have it in the Netherlands. Then we can really accelerate this. And thanks to the support of Brabant, but also the cooperation with the Soliance partners, EMAC, it is happening right now. We are doing it. And we need further support, of course, to commercialize it and to bring it to a spin-off. But I'm very glad to see that the energy mobilized is quite large at this moment.
I think it is also already happening today, because if I look, we are building the houses in the Netherlands, but we add PV much more already. And
it's more normal, it's integrated.
Normal. Yeah. It's depending on the regulation. So what the topic was spoken here before, I think it's really important. But today, we're building positive housing, so it's not a problem to build them. It's more in question of the market already. And I think Lightyear is a beautiful example of it.
Exactly.
Well, Lightyear, we have you on the table. Let's go to you, because one of the examples is mobility. And of course, Lightyear is developing innovative solar cars. The company is growing immensely fast. Tell us more about what you do.
Yeah, of course. And I will tell you also a bit about Lightyear in case somebody is still not aware of. So as you mentioned already, Lightyear is all about integration. So we are the developer of a vehicle integrated PV product. So it's basically an electric car that is powered by solar energy. And that, of course, on its own, it's very interesting because of two reasons, right? So like one, it's an electric car, meaning that it doesn't have an intrinsic CO2 emissions. And two, it's able to harness energy from the sun and actually produce its own energy, which massively reduces dependency from the power grid, making therefore this not only the integration itself, but actually the adoption of this type of product in the society a bit faster. So within Lightyear, as you mentioned, like I'm a solar engineer. I'm part of like the team of engineers working on our vehicle integrated solar product, and just trying to make it as, of course, as efficient as possible, and of course as sustainable as possible.
And if you look at because the solar cells are on the roof, right? It's all on the car. And do you need special solar cells for that? How does it work? How does the technology work?
Yeah, so yes and no, right? I think like this is a very big question in the sense that we are talking already about like solutions that are on their own very novel. So this is not a standard solar solution. It's kind of like a very novel vehicle integrated PV solution. So everything had to be, and is still being, like developed in-house from scratch. Of course, there are materials available out there, right? Like there are production of solar cells that we can just use, but that's just a piece in that puzzle, right? Like then it comes integrating those technologies, as you mentioned, like adapting those technologies to a surface that is not flat, that is actually curved, building the power electronics that actually support those solar cells, and of course all the materials that surround and form the solar panel. So it's indeed challenging because the main bits of let's say, like the technology are there in the market, but it's all about integrating them in a product that is functional at the end.
Can I ask you a question? If mass customization technology is rolled out and it becomes a success, and also we can couple it to perovskite development, even to silicon perovskite tandems or CIGS perovskite tandems, would that be of interest in terms of the scale-up that you have to go through in the coming years?
Yeah, of course. So basically we are now pre-commercial. So the first units are going to be starting to be developed in the summer next year, and the company plans to enter mass production within 3 to 4 years. So all of these topics are, of course, like pretty much interesting for us.
So there maybe is a new collaboration starting right now. Okay.
That's very interesting, of course.
Very interesting. What do you think?
I think it is a positive way of enabling new technology, also for our housing. It's not like only the car, but our surfaces on all our houses should be energy positive. And that's not on this moment. We make steps, huge steps, the last 3 years, I think. But mass customization is necessary. We have in the Netherlands a technical readiness level, and there are a lot of technology in a TRL level of 7, but we need a market to bring them to 8 to 9, and that's always difficult, especially for us, for housing, but energy is a difficult part for our consumers and producers in-house, because it was already there.
Yeah.
So it's difficult.
And if we look at Heijmans, so you're implementing solar, and it's keep getting more and more. You're a construction company. Why do you think it's important to make sure also construction companies use the solar energy?
It's a fit by our ambition and our DNA, because we're thinking blue and green and also be energy positive. So it's a real fit. So it's a struggle sometimes, but it is a fit for the future.
And where is it a struggle?
We are building for consumers. We don't ask them. They don't ask on a positive energy solution, because
not yet.
It's now a central system, and it should be then a decentral system. So you could be energy positive in your own house, but then you need storage, you need everything to act. That's already discussed in the first issue. You should have more energy to could use it and to let it happen.
So it's a default option and it doesn't cost you more money, for example?
That's the way we should do it.
Yeah. And what about the policy? What regulations do you need to make this happen?
Help us and create a market. So that's the main issue, I think. the people are already wants it, but now I cannot share my energy to my neighbor, and because there's a lack of regulation, I think, and that's an important issue.
Yeah.
Do you think
to fit for
Yeah,
55?
I agree with Ronald. Yeah. And especially in the case of integrated product, where we are focusing on, you get all kind of new challenges in terms of recycling, but also in terms of safety rules, all kind of old-fashioned building environment rules that have to be changed. So everything is changing, and we need to discuss this, I think, more rapidly than we do right now when it comes to policy. Yeah.
Good to know. So before we talk about recycling, we're going to switch again to our reporter, Niels van Loon, for a new virtual tour, this time at Solar Beats. Creating a new technology is one thing, but making real products is something else. Performance in real life is the ultimate test, and Niels is on a windy roof in Eindhoven, and he will tell us more.
TNO and the University of Technology have a unique test center downtown Eindhoven. Let's talk to Roland Valkenborg and learn why it's important to test your solar cells. Hi Roland, where are we?
We are at SolarBeat, the outdoor solar energy research facility of TNO and Technical University Eindhoven.
Okay, and what is it you are doing here?
Well, we do solar energy research on building integrated products. So that can be solar energy panels on a pitched roof, as you can see, or in a facade or on a flat roof, in all kinds of part of the building.
Why is this research important?
It's important because when a product is developed, first it will start in a laboratory indoors, for example in Soliance. And then later on, when the product is nearly ready for market, it first needs to be tested here, and it needs to be exposed to real outdoor conditions, because we want the product also to function in storm. It needs to make the building watertight. So all these environmental factors are important to investigate.
Okay, and how do you do that research?
Well, for that purpose we do at least 1 year of research, because we want to see all the seasons, summer, winter, storms and snow, etc. And we make sure that the data stream and the data measurements are continuously, so 24/7 for more than 1 year. And that makes it quite challenging research.
And why is this a unique place?
It takes a lot of effort to build up such an infrastructure. We are doing this now for 7 years. We have a lot of experience. It's really a challenge to work with calibrated measurement equipment. We have all kinds of high quality sensors, as you can see, for example, the solar irradiance sensors. So it's a development, an infrastructure that we are proud of.
Nice. Well, Roland, thank you for having us. Thank you for your clear explanation.
You're welcome.
So now we know why it's important to test solar cells in real weather conditions, also in real cold weather conditions like today. It's time for me to go inside, so let's go back to you.
Thank you so much, Niels, for these insights. René, you are here on behalf of Stichting Open.
Yes.
All the producers and importers are represented in the foundation, which work with solar energy, right?
Correct.
Why is this necessary?
Well, it's necessary not because there's a lot of waste from PV panels at the moment, but of course this will change in the coming future. So what we're seeing right now is that a lot of new PV is installed on the market, roughly 200,000 tons last year, and someday this will become waste in the future. So what we need is not so much technology, but first and foremost we need funding, and secondly we need a volume to be able to recycle it as we want to do it, glass for glass, silicon for silicon, etc. I think that's the future we have to go to. And to do that, of course, I said funding is essential. We are speaking to the government to change the way the fees are collected in this country. And we're looking a bit to Belgium, which are better at this point.
than the Netherlands in collecting the fees. And that's
in which way?
Well, they have a fee.
Okay.
We have a fee of 12 cents per panel, so you can't even post a postcard for that. So the fee needs to be higher. It needs to be a fee for all, no free riders who can compete with the legal ones and undercut prices. That's of course not an option. So what we want is to say we need a fee, we need a fund to be able to recycle this in 10, 15 years' time. And we say to our government, why not fix the fees to the subsidies that are given to all the consumers, the solar farms, etc. They're all built with a lot of subsidies, but the fees for the recycling has been forgotten.
They're not included.
Not included. So Stichting Open, we exist since 1 March of this year, and we say we want to fix this problem. So I hope to be able to fix it before the next summer. And as I say, there's no solar future without a sunny exit for recycling. So that's my quote.
That's nice.
And we hope to achieve that. So not a real big technical problem, but a financing problem and a volume problem.
I agree, because if we want to build a 100% circular environment, we need this kind of innovatives.
It has to be included.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, how can regulations and investment conditions fasten the recyclability and circular design of solar panels?
That of course will help, but we have to be pretty clear about this. Most costs are concentrate on logistics. So that's the major issue. Then you have your recycling, and you have a bit of valuables like silver, like silicon, once it's on a very high quality. If it's low quality, the value is 0. So, and I forgot what I was trying to say. The technology isn't really the biggest issue. The real issue is there is no volume at the moment, a few hundred tons per year, so it's basically nothing. And we need to have, let's say, 10,000 tons a year. So we're working closely with our neighboring countries, Germany, France, Belgium, to see when this will happen, when there's enough material on the market to recycle it as we want to do it on a high level, and be able to retrieve those materials and give it back to hopefully the Dutch PV production facilities.
Teresa, is Lightyear already thinking about this?
Yes, definitely. We're thinking about recycling, and I think we are kind of like looking at the big picture, right? Like, I think recycle is one step of the way, and we at Lightyear like to look at the entire lifetime of our product, right? So from the design of the product, like being conscious about the choice of materials even. So we spend a bit of time talking about solar recycling of the solar cells and the solar modules. We are looking into the entire vehicle. So for example, we are using recycled carbon fibers as a part of like the vehicle. And of course, that's the design, then it comes manufacturing, and then it comes, you know, like actually building a car that is as durable as possible. So because the Lightyear one, the car that's going to be released to the market is an electric vehicle. It has less moving parts, so in theory, it's going to be less prone to maintenance requirements. Yeah. But still, we are working hard to make that lifetime as long as possible and to reduce, you know, maintenance and of course, like create less waste along the way. And when it comes to the end of life of our product, so the many different, you know, like parts of the car, we are thinking of recycling, yes, but we are also, you know, like thinking of reusing those parts. Because if we look at a standard commercial solar module these days, we are talking about a lifetime of 25 years, which may surpass, you know, the lifetime of the car. So there are opportunities out there that we are investigating.
That was my question, because you have a different lifetime probably than in the building environment normally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it really spans across the lifetime of the product, I would say.
we do the same in the housing and also in the infrastructure. Reusing is better than recycling. So if you can reuse it and it has a more economical value, do it. It's sometimes difficult because you have the same regulations and demands what a customer sometimes asking, and that's sometimes difficult. But you should first reuse and then recycle.
Okay. Thank you so much for your insights today. René IJsbouts, Patricia Seoane, Ronald Volbert en Peter Toonse.
Dank.
Mark Glaudemans of the Dutch province of Noord-Brabant and Ludo de Verm of IMEC and the Soliance Supervisory Board. Please join me here on stage again. So, what did you think, Mark?
Well, it was very rich, I think very varied. I think in the first round we were emphasized with the urgency of the issue and the global aspect of it, but also that the awareness is there, but we need solutions, and the solutions need to be smart, so not just technology, but also finance and legislation and the social innovation. So I think Brabant as the heart of smart solution is the right place for that. And in the second and third round, it was about where we are already with our products, how we can integrate them, how we can speed up the innovation, and then also think about recycling because of the future of these products as well. So I think it was very, very, very varied. Yeah, I learned a lot, and I think there's a lot of opportunities also for Brabant to even engage more in this field.
What are your takeaways?
Okay, I was very positive about the reactions and also the input, and I think there's a lot of players who have an interest in this field of renewable energies. I think what we need more is, of course, a more strategic approach over whole Europe, and not all industries separate, all RTOs separate, etc. And also that there should be the right regulations, and also that governments should implement rules for public procurement for energy, so you stimulate the market. I think if you combine everything better, I think we have much more chance to bring the CO2 neutrality in 2050.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for joining us today. Mark Glaudemans and Ludo de Verm, thank you so much.
Welcome.
So, this was it, the Brabant Solar Day. Also on behalf of the committee, I would like to say thank you for joining. On behalf of the Brabant Solar Day Organizing Committee of the Province of Noord-Brabant, Soliance, Artishock and partners. If you want to know more about Brabant or about solar, visit brabantsolarday.nl, soliance.eu, toekomstbestendigbrabant.nl and brabant.nl. Hopefully we'll see you next time in real life, but for now we wish you a wonderful day.